So today we're going to be demonstrating everything that we can possibly think of on how to operate this Scimitar. So we're going to start with the driving, the operational side, but later on in the video, we're also going to do some touch and goes alongside the berth. So hopefully you can use this content to see what your boat life is going to be like on board one of these boats. Okay, so it's a no-nonsense boat. You'll hear me using that term a lot. If you're coming from the marina and you've been on shore power, you're going to disconnect right here. And now, if you have been on shore power, your engine crank batteries for port and starboard have probably been left on, and that's totally fine to do that. However, if you're on anchor or on a swing mooring, you might actually switch the engine crank batteries off. So on this model, and there's two models, there's the Weekender and the Platinum. On this model, it really is no nonsense setup. That is your engine battery just there, your battery switch, and that's obviously your engine crank battery. So one on each side, and then you go from here straight up to activate power to the house, which is on a very straightforward panel up here on the starboard side. Okay, so we just open this and then see your house supply just there. And as you can see, we can see our fuel, water as well, and that is our winch breaker just there. And then we can see our switches just here. So that is on, this means off. So you just turn on whatever you need for the day, and then we're ready to run up to the fly bridge. You can option it with a lower helm if you choose, so that is possible. This boat's got the fly bridge and Morse controls. So when I say Morse controls, that means a cable going from the throttle straight down to the motor. Really, really simple, nothing to it. So then we see our Yanmar engine panels here. We've got the 110 horsepower on each one. We just activate power. Looks like we've already got power on each one. So let's just go, boom, start. So you would ordinarily turn the power on and start. Obviously check that I had neutral. We're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so we're on anchor, so you might be on a swing mooring or at a marina. We'll do that at the end of this video, but simulating the anchor scenario, it's super no nonsense. Once again, we've got a nice bow roller there, and I just up and down on the windlass, up and down on the windlass. I can actually see everything. So if you actually bring the camera up back to where I am, see, that's your line of sight. You're not missing anything on this boat, guys. So just raise the anchor and off you go. Next little trick, when you are operating this boat, she's basically a full keel boat. So it is a shaft drive diesel setup, and it's full keel. I'm going to turn these motors off. So you need to just drive it with the throttles. Don't worry about the wheel, because the wheel ain't going to do anything when the boat's going slow. It's much easier to maneuver it with the throttles, and the keels, because they are providing the shafts and the propellers with a lot of protection, they are also providing a lot of resistance to maneuvering at slow speeds. So if you just use the throttles, that's going to help you a lot easier. So there's a couple of tricks to maneuvering this boat, which I'm going to try and share throughout the video, but this is going to be a speed and fuel flow test right now, and I'm just going to explain some of the sensations that I experience. I'm running downwind. We're on Moreton Bay here in Queensland. I'm running downwind. We're going to go across the wind, then we're going to go into the wind. We've got about 10 knots, maybe 12 at times. The forecast is for up to 15. And then I actually just want you to wait and see the fuel flow when we come back to the slower speeds, and what I would consider a very healthy cruise speed, 12 knots. I'm not going to do 12 straight away because I want to speed up and show you what this boat is capable of doing. We've got the Yanmar 110 horsepowers on a good old straight shaft, protected by keels. This is a no-nonsense cruising boat. It really is the best way I can describe it. So I'm just sitting on 1400 revs there. I've got a speed return downwind of 7.2 knots and a fuel flow 2.5 litres That's hilarious. Okay, let's speed up. Let's get the boat moving. I'm going to get it up to 2,800 revs. I'm just doing a moderately fast acceleration. More controls at the throttle here. So that literally just means there's a cable going from the throttle down to the motors, just like your old sailing yacht. So this is just no nonsense, no complicated technology to brake on you. Just coming through 2,600 revs there. Give it a little bit more. And I just want to match the motors there. Okay, 2.8, 2.8. All right. So I have a speed return at 2,800 revs. Very comfortable sensation here. No bow rise on acceleration. The weight distribution is fantastic. The engines and the fuel tank are in the middle, but she didn't want to dig her ass at all just then. And that was a moderately aggressive acceleration, but I'm getting 6.2 knots and 13 litres consumption per side. 13 litres. That is awesome. You could just go all day and you wouldn't even notice. For a typical day's cruising, you wouldn't even notice the fuel that you have consumed. This is proper conservative stuff. All right, so we're going to take the boat through a gentle turn. The rudders are efficient at these speeds, but when you're at slow speeds, you basically don't need to use them. So the boat is maintaining a real flat attitude right now. I can see those deflectors up on the bows sending a lot of that spray straight out to the side. So I want you to pay particular close attention to those drone shots because it is sending a lot of the spray out and not up as you see on some hulls of this style. Okay. All right, we've got the wind going across the decks now. So now we've got the little bit of chop that we have built up from or fetch built up from the swells coming on the side, and she's just a big, stable, comfortable platform. Got a little bit of movement, but nobody's going to be struggling whatsoever. Now let's speed her up. I'm going to bring her up to 100% load. That's 3,100 on both motors. I'm seeing 18 knots and 18 litres per side. I'm going to give it full power, 3,300. A little bit of spray off the leeward hull as we rock through some of the swells. Okay, that's full power right there. I'm seeing 20 knots. I think I can get a little bit more out of it. That's 3,350 maybe. Yeah, about 3,350 revs and a steady 20 knots. I saw 20.2 before. And the leeward hull throwing a little bit of water up, but it's not making its way up here. I can see it down there. So let's continue that speed and take it into the wind. I'm completely dry up here. The main deck's going to be copping a little bit of water at this speed, but we are not seeing any of it up here. Now we're going to go into the wind. So I'm going into 10 knots plus, a little bit of wind in my face here, so you might value some clears. And now let's slow the boat down, because you don't drive around at 100% all day. I just wanted to show you what was possible. Let's come back to something more sensible. Okay, so I'm maintaining 15 knots there at 2,700 revs, and I see 13 litres a side. Let's slow down now. Let's slow down because I'm really excited about some of these fuel flow numbers at what I would consider a very respectable cruising speed. If you've done much sailing and you're used to going places at 6 knots, how's this? So I'm coming back to 2,200, just a smidgen over 2,200 revs. I got 11.7 SOG on the dial. I'm just going to notch that up a tiny bit. I want to get to 12. Let's get to 12. Okay, there we go. 12 knots on the dial. and I'm seeing 9 litres per side. 9 litres per side with a 12 knot speed return. You can go places. You can go places. Okay, I'm cold, so let's go across the wind now. And we might as well actually go back downwind because this winter wind is too cold for me. It's only going to get to like 22 today. Can't handle it anymore. I've acclimatised to the warm weather. So, now 10 knots. That's incredible. 10 knots, the boat is really, really just sipping the juice now. I'm on, wait a sec, let me just equal those motors, 2,000 revs. There you go, I'm at 2 grand on each motor. I'm going downwind and I've got a steady 10 knots and my fuel flow is 6.5 litres per side. Why is this so fun? Great. Okay, and let's bring that down again. Maybe it's just because I've been driving all these boats where I would consume the entire fuel capacity of this whole boat just going to lunch. It's a completely different mindset. It really is a sailor's mindset driving this boat, but you're adding all of this real estate. You've got so much more comfort, I would say. You definitely want to think about some clears protection if you're driving in cold climates or maybe a lower helm. But if you're in Queensland, and if you're a sunny day, this boat's called a weekender for a reason. If you're using it on sunny days, not necessary. It seems pretty dry up here. Yes, we're throwing a bit of spray around the lower deck, but who cares? Everyone else inside, down the back is protected, and up here, all sorted. So let's see our fuel flow at, let's do 1600. Okay, 1600 revs, 7.8 knots, 3.2 to 4 litres. I haven't got them equal. Let's go 1500. You know, the Yanmars, if you've had a Yanmar before, they are noisier. They do throw out a little bit more vibration, but I think the beauty of this design is you're up on the flybridge, so you don't actually notice that. It actually just feels like any other motor yacht. Sure, there is a little bit more noticeable noise when you go downstairs and vibrations, but any shaft drive is going to do that. And what I like about this is why complicate things with more expensive to run and expensive to maintain drive systems. These things are reliable as, and that's why people cross oceans with Yanmar engines on their sailing yachts. And I would certainly be happy to drive one of these things across an ocean, particularly, oh my God, imagine going, obviously, up the Queensland coast, but imagine going top end and then up to Asia in one of these. This would be perfect. What an adventure. So that's fascinating. We're going to go into some shallow water now and do some more maneuvering, and you're coming along for the ride. Okay, so batteries on downstairs. Activate power to each motor. I always start one motor at a time. Just check that we are in neutral and then straight up to start. It's as simple as that. Boom, boom. Okay, so again, raising the anchor, not much to it because I can see everything from up here. So I'm actually just going to start bringing it up. And as soon as I start to see, there you go. As soon as I start to see a little bit of angle on that chain, I'll just come forward. Geez, this windlass is super strong. And not much to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is maneuver this boat out of here. I'm just going to get the stern into deep water because I'm in 1.4 meters of water. Isn't that lovely? Okay, and I'm just driving with throttles here, guys, because the rudders are not super useful in these conditions. I might as well just use the throttles and maneuver the boat that way. And to explain that, keels are going to provide resistance to any steerage. So if you've got small, relatively small rudders, if your last boat was a production monohull, you probably had a big, large spade rudder. That could be like 1.5 meters worth of surface area. And when you compare that to the surface area of these rudders, these things are going to be tiny. So you're much better served to just use the motors, because there's going to be a lot of power and torque through these big fixed props that we've got on this. And let's just show you. Now I'm in 2.9 meters. See that? A little bit of juice gives me a lot of maneuverability. Let's just give a little bit of reverse. And let's just get the boat spinning. So look at that. I can, with a little bit of, you know, I haven't had any practice at all. This is the first time I've done this maneuver on this boat, but that is really good maneuverability for a 36-foot boat that will sleep 6 people and take, I mean, for the day, you could, oh my God, what is the capacity on this? You could probably do 14 people for the day on this. It's, oh, here we go, it's right here. Number 14 or not, don't exceed 14. Hey, that was a good guess. Awesome. Now let's just see how she goes in reverse. Always practice this sort of thing out in the open water before you get into the marina. You don't want to be surprised by a boat's handling characteristics when you get into a marina and then discover that it does something other than what you were expecting. So that's all good. Now let's just pretend we're going up towards a fixed dock. So that tracks very, very straight in reverse. So I feel like I've got a lot of options with this boat. If I wanted to back up, pick someone up, and then if I wanted to come into a marina berth side two, I could possibly even just put my bow on the dock and then just give it some of this and bring the stern around. Look at that. Okay, fascinating. I think from here, we need to go out and try out the fuel flow. Okay, Patreons, we're just carrying on the conversation here, and I thought it's worthy of, yeah, understanding a little bit more about your history, Tommy, because this sounds like quite the interesting.
I grew up on the water, not too far from here. Always had a passion for boating, which started in sailing little boats to sailing bigger boats. And then I studied engineering, so I went and studied naval architecture.
So that experience, I guess, helped you understand all the improvements that you wanted to then bring to the brand. Is that how you was that your plan, or did it just happen this way?
Yeah, it was. I guess, you know, we always saw the boats as, from an outsider's perspective, as a great thing.
Yep.